Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. The state's biggest greyhound trainer is being investigated for a second time amid claims of animal cruelty. Today, Anthony Bullock's licence was suspended after shocking video of the conditions his dogs were under was made public. And a warning, the footage in this story is distressing.
2 days after an animal welfare group released damning drone footage of the kennels of the state's biggest greyhound trainer, they're celebrating.
We could never have dreamed that it would actually come to this point because Bullock has been a protected individual for so long.
Today, the Office of Racing Integrity commenced an inquiry into greyhound trainer Anthony Bullock. His licence suspended immediately until the inquiry concludes.
Well, we strongly support Mr Bullock being stood down while an investigation into alleged shocking animal abuses takes place. We estimate some 90 greyhounds who are living in alleged appalling conditions on Mr Bullock's property.
What happens to the greyhounds on his property now is unknown, but the RSPCA say it'll work to ensure the animals' welfare and safety.
We have grave concerns for those dogs because Bullock's money is no longer coming in off their backs. So what's going to happen for their care?
We understand that other greyhound trainers are full, that their properties have no space to take any extra dogs, let alone potentially 90 extra dogs.
Advocates and the Greens among those calling for an independent review.
Essentially, Ori is investigating itself.
What we're hearing about is that people have their emails forwarded to the person they're complaining about and things like that. Clearly, that's not the way to run an appropriately enforced industry.
The Office of Integrity say once the inquiry is finalised, it will be publicly released. But for now, a lot of questions remain unanswered.
What sort of assessments are done when properties are inspected? Dogs are living in dirt and on cold concrete slabs. So how can an independent assessment of that by Ori not have shown this before?
He is the top trainer, he is the leader. He sets the example for the industry in Tasmania. So how could we expect much less from some of the other trainers?
Mr Bullock was contacted by 7 Tasmania News today, however he did not wish to make comment. Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
A 17-year-old male has been charged after an incident in Launceston's Brisbane Street yesterday afternoon. Emergency services responded to a disturbance where it's alleged a bystander was stabbed. The youth is facing 1 count of wounding and possessing a dangerous article, namely a knife, in public. It's understood he faced Youth Justice Court today, but under Tasmanian law, media is unable to report on youth matters. Jeremy Rockliff's unveiled a bold new policy promising power bill relief when hydro performs well. His renewables dividend, the centrepiece of a speech to supporters today, with a tight vote delivering new leadership in the party.
Thank you very much.
Harnessing the energy of his state council crowd and pledging cheaper energy through a renewable dividend.
When hydro makes money, Tasmanians save money.
Under the plan, 50% of Hydro Tasmania profits over $100 million will be handed back to Tasmanian households via a credit applied on the first bill of each year.
For example, Tasmanians could expect a saving of around $100 off their power bill for the year if Hydro delivered a dividend of around $160 million.
For the government to say, we're happy to make $100 million off you guys, but after that we'll give you a little bit back, I think is pretty disingenuous.
Local branches putting forward policy ideas today.
The fact that we can come together in open session like this and debate policies is a great thing.
Motions passed backing mandatory sentencing for assaults on frontline workers and asking the government to prevent the commercial sale of Utah's Sandy Bay campus.
If not resolved, could cost the government a 3rd seat in Clark.
But the big vote was to replace outgoing President Chris Gatenby. Catholic Archdiocese Master of Ceremonies Michael McKenna beating out Clarence City Mayor Brendan Blomley. This year's State Council comes with the government now in minority and battling through turbulent parliamentary sittings. A constant theme of speeches has been the challenging times. A state election is scheduled for 2025 but expected by many to come sooner. Candidate training sessions have been held here today.
It's utterly and thoroughly winnable for us. And a majority. 25 or 35 seats, it makes no difference.
One place where he won't receive this reception. State Parliament returns from its winter break on Tuesday. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Additional funding has been secured for the Flinders Island Safe Harbour project. Tasports will contribute $900,000. The facelift is being developed by the Flinders Island Council in partnership with the state government. The total cost, more than $3.5 million. Work on the Safe Harbour project is due to commence later this year and is set to be completed by March 2025. Tasmania's youth orchestra has been given the opportunity to learn from the state's premier musicians. The youth and symphony orchestras joining forces for the big rehearsal, led by one of the country's most experienced conductors.
There may have been a gap in age and experience, but together, this was a group hitting the right notes.
Huge. It's quite amazing to play with the symphony orchestra.
It's the equivalent, for me, of 4 or 5 weeks rehearsal with the youth orchestra on their own.
The State Youth Orchestra in harmony with its symphonic counterpart. Sitting side by side, the morning was spent rehearsing before performing for family and friends.
Well, it feels like a gift giving back because it doesn't seem like so long ago that I was in Lily's position.
Playing with professional musicians, playing big pieces with an orchestra twice the size that we usually do.
The conductor of the Australian World Orchestra putting them through their paces. He says a combination is a unique way to both teach and learn.
You see the energy and the enthusiasm that the young musicians have, particularly sitting next to the professionals, and they really get into it.
For Lily, the opportunity is a dream come true. The violinist learning some important lessons.
Beat counting is the most important in orchestra. You don't want to come in early or late. It's not the wrong notes, it's the wrong beats that are more important.
Also making new friends along the way.
As a youth orchestra, obviously we don't get to the level that TSO does in a day, so playing with them is going to be quite amazing.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
A $30 million development by the state's largest aged care provider has welcomed its first residents. Reed Estate at Prospect Vale has been years in the making and demand has never been higher.
Retiree Jan Smith was looking to downsize.
My house was a big house, a big garden. So it was about time I went into a smaller environment.
That's when the state's newest retirement village caught her attention.
When we first put our names down, there was nothing here. It was just the start of it. My daughter and I had a look at the display home, loved it.
Now she's been calling Reed Estate home for 8 weeks.
The first night I came in, I felt straight at home.
The vision brought to life by the owners of neighbouring Tyler Village, with Respect Aged Care saying the care model gives retirees peace of mind.
It just provides that continuum of care for people at that stage of their life so they just don't have to have all this upheaval.
Stage 1 includes the community centre and 22 units. More than half of those are already sold.
Stage 2 is being built now and will be completed by the end of this year in December. Stage 3, another 22 units, and that'll be completed December 2024. So in total it'll be more than 70 units here.
Today's official launch proving the level of demand for housing for the state's ageing population. Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
It was a big day of wins in the TSL with ladder leaders Kingborough winning the inaugural Indigenous celebration game. Launceston crushing Clarence, moving the Blues back into 3rd place.
Having been bitten last time they faced Lauderdale, the Tigers were ready to pounce.
Bending it back beautifully.
Goals galore in the opening quarter as Kingborough scored 5.
Looks good off the boat.
But the Bombers, none. A 40-point lead notched up halfway through the second quarter.
It's all too easy for the Tigers.
Lauderdale were able to make inroads late.
Swoops on it, and the bounce just carries the line.
But the Tigers had done enough early, winners by 24. The goals were flowing on the banks of the Tamar too. 4th-placed Launceston opened the scoring in the first minute, piling on 7 more to a solitary point by quarter time. Clarence were able to hit the scoreboard, but the Blues took the victory by 60. moving back into third place. Fresh off a win, the Demons had a chance to take 2 in a row against the Pies and found themselves up early.
And he loves it.
Stevenson slotting one from the boundary.
On its way is perfect.
As the Demons took a 3-goal lead into the half. The Pies were brave in the second.
Manson, spinning kick, snap.
But couldn't close the gap. North winners by 27 and sit in 5th. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Dozens of Tasmania's up-and-coming footy stars have been put through their paces by the Kangaroos AFLW side. The entire North Melbourne Tasmania squad visiting the state this weekend for a community camp. Led by hometown hero Nicole Bresnan, the kids got involved in skills tests and drills, also getting a chance to meet their heroes.
It's incredible to see the growth of female and junior girls' talent here in Tassie, and I think that's why it's so important to continue to strengthen those pathways and continue to grow the game.
The Roos will open their AFLW season in Hobart next month. And one of the country's most experienced Matildas was also in Hobart today to meet with our future soccer stars. Aston Villa's Emily Genlich visiting as part of the Women's World Cup. Winning 57 caps for her country, the forward says she's amazed at how popular the tournament has been, confident it will leave a legacy for the sport.
The game is growing rapidly, and I think there's going to be a real turning point after this Women's World Cup. So hopefully more young boys and girls want to get involved.
I'm sure there'll be plenty going on Monday night when they take on Denmark, and so there's a real buzz amongst the football community, in particular amongst our women and girls players.
Matilda also dropped into the Kingborough Lions as part of her 2-day tour. To the NPL, and Kingborough came from behind to defeat lowly Riverside Olympic. An upset was on the cards when Riverside went 2-0 up inside 15 minutes. The Lions fighting back from 3 goals down to lead with 10 minutes to play. An injury time goal eventually sealing a 5-3 win. At Clarence, South Hobart put the Zebras to the sword, thumping them 6-1. In the WSL, a late goal gave Taroona their first win of the season over Kingborough, while Devonport and Launceston United played out a scoreless draw. And finally in sport tonight, a Tasmanian basketballer has become a world champion overnight. Nate Ackerley was part of Australia's victorious basketball team at the World Dwarf Games in Germany. The Aussies were too strong for the United States, defeating the Americans in the gold medal match 30 points to 3.
Good evening. It was a mostly warm and sunny day today across the state, with Hobart reaching a high of 16, Launceston and Devonport 15, 14 in Burnie. Smithton and Low Head reached a high of 14, 7 in Lyoweni and 13 in Flinders Island. Taking a closer look at Tasmania today, cloudy conditions were seen about the west and central north, with clear conditions elsewhere. Further out, a frontal cloud band is pushing up New South Wales, with high cloud also pushing over the south coast of WA. Tomorrow, showers are expected about the west of the state, with patchy morning fog and frost fine elsewhere. Westerly winds tomorrow 10 to 20 knots, reaching 25 knots about the south. Swells up to 4 metres in the west and south and up to 1 metre in the north. A minor flood warning is current for the Meander, North Esk, South Esk rivers. Tomorrow's forecast now: Hobart, cloudy, 16 in Richmond, ooze a shower or 2. In the north, partly cloudy and 15 across Launceston and Devonport, Deloraine 13. Burnie tomorrow 14, showers in Strawn, Curry reaching a high of 14. St Helens becoming cloudy, Swansea 16 and 14 in Whitemark. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast now: Monday, light showers about the west and far south, fine elsewhere. Tuesday, patchy morning fog and frost with light showers about the west and north. And Wednesday, showers about the north with light showers in the west. Capital cities, 21 and mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow. Sydney, showers easing, and 23 in Brisbane. And currently Hobart 10 and partly cloudy, Launceston mostly clear, and Devonport 10 and mostly clear. And it's looking like more showers on the way in the coming days, Lou.
And that's all your news for this Saturday night. Thank you for joining us. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.